You're sitting at the dinner table. Plates clink. Someone mentions their new investment. Another nods about their bonus. The words slide past you, but your stomach tightens anyway. You check your phone under the table. Nothing new. Same balance. Same unanswered emails. Your fork pauses halfway to your mouth. You hear laughter. You nod. Smile. Pretend to follow along. But you aren't. Not really. Your pulse ticks a little faster. The cousin talks about their house, mortgage paid off early. You picture your own numbers. They don't line up. You glance at your partner. They're quiet too. Everyone else seems ahead of you. Always. And you're not sure why. You think maybe you missed something. Some class. Some secret that everyone else got. Maybe it's too late. Maybe this is just how it is. You push the thought down. Take a sip of water. Swallow. Your phone buzzes again. A notification from the bank. You don't open it, not yet. Your hand trembles slightly. You shift in your seat. Check your watch. Wait for the conversation to move away from money. But it keeps circling back. Stocks, retirement, investments, passive income. You stare at the ceiling later that night, at 2 a.m. Can't sleep. The conversation loops. Your head spins with numbers, percentages, missed opportunities. You know you should act. You should plan. But you don't. Not yet. And here's the thing. Everyone else's success isn't proof of your failure. But the way the system works, it feels personal. And right now, sitting at that table, with your hand on your fork, your stomach tight, your mind racing, you feel it in your body before you understand it in your mind. This section hits the moment. Physical reactions, uneven rhythm, and quiet personal address. You're not lazy. You're not bad with money. You didn't miss some secret class that everyone else somehow attended. Stop telling yourself that. Stop holding that tight in your chest. Look at what's happening. The system isn't designed to make you feel safe. It wasn't built around you. It was built for other people, for institutions, for cycles that favor those who already know how to navigate them. That's why those dinner table conversations sting. It's not you. It's the rules you never agreed to, but have to follow anyway. That anxiety creeping up when someone talks about stocks or bonds, that's not your fault. That tightness in your gut when they mention a bonus or a tax trick, also not your fault. You were taught to believe that your path was linear, neat, predictable. It isn't. It never was. So, take a breath. Put your fork down. Stop comparing the numbers. Stop imagining that everyone else has some advantage that you don't. They don't. Not fully. The problem isn't you. It's the outdated norms, the expectations that were never realistic, that pressure to hit some invisible benchmark by a certain age. That's the thing that keeps people paralyzed. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're just playing a game where the rules are complicated and changing fast. And if you understand the rules, really understand them, you can finally move. Everyone says it. You hear it everywhere. Credit scores only improve slowly over time. By 40, you should have 3 times your salary saved. If you missed your 20s, you're done. Technically true, practically misleading. Because it sounds safe, logical, step by step. But life isn't linear. Numbers on paper don't capture the twists, the gaps, the sudden shocks. You could follow every rule perfectly, and the system could still blindside you. Look, building wealth isn't a straight ladder. It's more like climbing a rocky slope while the ground shifts beneath you. You save, you invest, you earn. But the system throws obstacles, interest rate jumps, bank failures, job disruptions. You can't control those. You can only control how you react. And here's the part nobody tells you. Those rules, 3 times your salary saved, perfect credit score, aren't guarantees. They're averages. Benchmarks designed for planners, not for people navigating real-world messes. You follow them, you might be okay. You follow them, you might still get crushed by a digital bank run or a sudden market shock. It doesn't mean you shouldn't plan. It means you should plan smarter. Focus on things you can control. Liquidity, access to capital, flexibility, physical assets, real preparation, not benchmarks, not comparisons, not the numbers that other people put on a spreadsheet to feel secure. Because the truth is this: you could hit every milestone on paper and still be exposed. Or, if you understand the actual mechanics, You could start late, do less, and still come through intact. The difference isn't luck, it's strategy, and it's what the rules never explain. Here's the thing most people never really understand. Your money in a bank, it's not sitting in a vault with your name on it. Not a single dollar. Not really. You deposit, they take it. Loans, bonds, investments, instruments meant to make more money than they pay you in interest. Fractional reserve system. Only a slice is kept on hand. The rest? Deployed, working, or at least trying to. This works until it doesn't. Until people panic. Until confidence cracks. That's when it stops being numbers on a screen and starts being a problem about food, mortgage, payroll. That's a bank run. And the speed now, digital, texts, Twitter, private messages, one alert from the right person and billions move in hours, not days. SVB lost $42 billion in a single day. Gone. Not slow. Gone. The old friction, the line at the branch, the hours to withdraw cash, gave time. Time for regulators, time for banks, time for confidence to recover. That friction doesn't exist anymore. One message, one Slack post, one viral tweet. Systems can lock up instantly. Banks fail differently than most people think. It's not about being badly managed. Often it's market mechanics, bond losses, interest rate swings, long-term government bonds in a rising rate environment, unrealized losses that only matter when panic strikes. And then the government intervenes. Sometimes. Sometimes not until after accounts are frozen, after people are trapped, after families can't access their own money. Cyprus 2013, Argentina 2001, California 2023, same mechanism, repeated, different names, same result. Ordinary people caught in a system designed for capital efficiency, not personal security. Here's what you need to know. The system favors speed, scale, and confidence. If confidence breaks, the system collapses faster than most expect. Your deposits, your payroll, your bills, they aren't sacred. They're part of a fluid, leveraged machine that can turn against you instantly if the right domino falls. Understanding that is liberating, not terrifying. If you know the mechanics, you know what to watch. What signals matter? What's under your control? Your preparation, your positioning, your access. That's the difference between scrambling in chaos and moving deliberately while everyone else panics. This section explains how banking and financial mechanics work, why crises escalate, and sets up the next part. Proof through relatable reality. Let me tell you about someone like you. Early 30s, nothing fancy, no inherited wealth, no Wall Street contacts, just a decent job, a small apartment, a few savings accounts, and a gut full of anxiety about money. They noticed the signals. Bank offering unusually high CD rates, regional bank stock quietly dropping while the market held steady, friends murmuring about withdrawals. Nothing on the headlines yet, just hints. Small, almost invisible, unless you were paying attention. So they acted, not heroically, not wildly, just deliberately. Opened accounts at a different institution, moved some savings into physical cash, kept essentials liquid, made sure a few months of living expenses were in a home safe, not a bank vault, bought a small amount of physical gold and silver, not to get rich, to preserve what they already had. A month later, the bank that had been offering high CD rates froze withdrawals for a day. Panic spread in the local news. Customers stood in line. Online systems slowed. But this person, they didn't sweat. Could still pay rent. Could still cover groceries. Could still make payroll for their small side business. Because they had positioned themselves ahead of the chaos, even quietly. It wasn't luck. It wasn't perfect timing. It was noticing the right signals and acting early. Most people around them weren't ready. They panicked. They scrambled. They sold assets at fire sale prices. They lost months, sometimes years of work. That one person, they didn't just survive. They were in a position to take advantage when systems stabilized. The difference wasn't brilliance. It wasn't an inside connection. It was preparation, strategy, awareness. And here's the key. This isn't extraordinary. Anyone can do it. The systems, the banks, the signals, they're all visible. You just have to see them, understand them, and act before the moment hits. First thing first, stop leaks. Look at where money quietly disappears every month. Subscriptions, automatic payments, interest piling up on credit cards. Fix those first. Immediate relief, immediate control. Next, tackle high-interest debt, not half-heartedly, all in. The stuff that grows faster than your income. Credit cards, personal loans, payday traps. Reduce them. Eliminate them. Every dollar freed is one more you control when the system goes sideways. Then build your buffer. 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in liquid form. Cash at home. Easy access. Not buried in a single account at a bank that might freeze. Not in some complicated fund that takes a week to liquidate. Accessible. Right there. After that, look at investing. But only once essentials are covered. Stocks, bonds, real assets. Start small. Spread the risk. Focus on things that hold value even if banks hiccup. Physical commodities, gold, silver, real property, income-generating businesses. Safety first, growth second. Finally, increase income. Not in some abstract sense. Concrete ways. Side hustle, skill upgrade, freelance, negotiate a raise. More money flowing in increases flexibility. It's not just wealth. It's freedom to act when others are trapped. The order matters. Stop leaks, eliminate high-interest debt, build buffer, invest, increase income. Each step builds momentum for the next. Skip one, and the sequence falters. You feel fragile, even if you have assets. You feel stuck. You panic. It sounds simple, but simplicity is powerful. It works. Over time, compounding isn't just interest, it's behavior, it's preparation. Following the roadmap protects against chaos and positions you to take advantage when others scramble. And remember, sequence beats volume. Doing a few things in the right order is far better than doing everything imperfectly. That's how ordinary people turn preparation into survival, into opportunity. Here's the thing most people don't realize. You don't need decades to start making a difference. Not really. Take 90 days, 3 months. That's enough to cover essential expenses, reduce high-interest debt, and make your first real investment moves. Enough to feel in control. Enough to see your position shift from reactive to proactive. Or look at the bigger picture. 25 years, a full career. If you play the roadmap correctly, that's not a lifetime of struggle. That's measurable progress, significant growth, real results. You don't need to start at 22. You don't need perfect timing. Starting correctly beats starting early. Every time. Because wrong moves early compound too. Mistakes stick. Panic multiplies. Missed opportunities widen. Starting late, but starting with clarity, with the right actions in order, puts you ahead of most people who began decades earlier without understanding the mechanics. And here's the key. Progress isn't just financial. It's psychological. Confidence, control, awareness. Every small move reinforces your ability to respond when systems fail, to survive, to capitalize. 3 months, 25 years, doesn't matter. The principle is the same. Start correctly, move deliberately, ignore the noise. You'll be ahead, even if everyone else is still racing on autopilot. Here's what gets people. The real enemy isn't the market. It isn't the bank. It's shame. Shame that you didn't know sooner. Shame that you feel behind. Shame that everyone else seems to have it together. Shame leads to avoidance. You delay. You tell yourself tomorrow. You scroll instead of act. You read another article, watch another video, and do nothing. Delay compounds regret. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. Small mistakes grow. Small inaction becomes a lost opportunity. By the time you act, the system has already shifted, and you're left scrambling. And it happens quietly. Most people don't notice until it's too late. You feel behind but can't identify why. You feel stuck but don't see the trap. Awareness is the fix. Name it. Shame, avoidance, delay, regret. Just saying it aloud weakens the cycle. Recognition interrupts it. You can still move, you can still act. The clock isn't stopped. But ignoring the trap, that's what guarantees it wins. Right now, not next week, not after another article. Right now, take one concrete step. Check your accounts, every single one. which are accessible, which might be restricted if a crisis hits. Know this. Memorize it. Write it down. If you haven't yet, raise your contributions. Automate savings. Move money into accounts that aren't tied to a single institution. Even a small adjustment matters. Add an authorized user. Adjust payment timing. Make sure bills and obligations have a buffer. One action. Simple. Immediate. The rule is this: 48 hours. That's your window to act before inertia or panic sets in. Not research, not planning, action, motion, momentum. Because once a shock arrives, you won't have clarity. You won't have time. You'll be reacting to headlines, text alerts, social chatter. Do this now. One step today. It sets you apart from the people who will look back later and say, I should have acted. Motion before panic, control before chaos. That's the difference. Success isn't a number. It isn't a benchmark. Not a salary, not a savings target, not a credit score. It's direction. The move you make today. The one step that puts you ahead of chaos, that protects your essentials, that positions you for opportunity. You might be behind on paper. You might feel like others have a head start. Doesn't matter. The system can still be navigated if you know what matters and act deliberately. So, focus on the things you control. Protect your capital. Build your buffer. Understand the signals. And then watch, wait, move, grow. Because the benchmark doesn't matter. The direction does.